Founded in 1999 by Jason Burks, Retrospec Films is Oklahoma's largest turnkey production company of its kind. With over 2 decades of experience, a full-time team of over 20 talented individuals, a 12,000 square foot studio to create in, and thousands of successfully completed projects in both entertainment and advertising. You're in the right place if you like hearing some good old filmmaking stories. On this podcast, we will discuss the pursuit of creating things and the problems we solve by digging up projects from across the last 20 years and giving you a glimpse behind the scenes where the magic happens. You're listening to Retrospec Films from the Archives.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Retrospec from the Archives, where we talk about our pursuit of creating things and the problems we solve along the way. Today, we are digging up a project from not too long ago. In 2022, we were hired to shoot the Oklahoma tourism commercials. And this project, I will say, is very, very near and dear to my heart because this is exactly the kind of work that I want to do, why I became a filmmaker. I love the outdoors. And so when we were given an email that said we might be considered, we were just absolutely enthralled at the concept of taking on these spots.
Happy birthday! Make a wish.
Miss you guys.
Blue skies smiling at me, talking about blue skies. Do I see bluebirds singing a song, talking about blue skies from now on?
In today's podcast, we're going to primarily cover the pre-production aspects, the planning, the casting, all the preparation that went into shooting these commercials. And the purpose of these spots is to advertise to surrounding states and people in the state all the amazing things that you can do in Oklahoma. And I would say, maybe me more than anyone else, I take advantage of those things quite often.
Probably anybody at this table, yes, I would say. Yes.
So I was like, hey, this is not going to be hard for me to go spend time in all these places because I already do it anyways. So why don't we dive right in? So projects in film production, sometimes you get a call that just says, hey, we want to hire you, which is probably 70-80% of the time for us. We just get a call that says we want to hire you. When are you available? But then sometimes, especially like on state projects, they'll send out RFPs and lots of people will respond and put numbers together and do creative, et cetera. This one, it came from the agency that does all the work for the state. I was like, okay, this is tourism. This is like my favorite. This is like where my heart's at. So let's see what we can come up with. Well, these scripts were really incredible. And the scripts dove into using our state theme, Imagine That. So we were to create scenarios in which families would be in one mundane part of life, normal things like sitting on the couch and checking your phone or, just doing whatever. And then, bam, they transition to doing something amazing. And Oklahoma has such an extremely diverse array of things that you can do. Most people don't realize it. I've been really surprised even just here recently when we've been working on that project, people see the footage and they're like, is that in Oklahoma? Like people that aren't from here don't go here. And it's like, yes, that's Oklahoma. Yes, we have deserts. Yes, we have, deciduous forests. Yes, we have evergreens. Yes, we have lakes everywhere. I don't know what people assume Oklahoma is, but it's way cooler than you think it is.
A favorite resort and spa comeback. A new reason to visit an old state.
Blue skies smiling at me, talking about blue skies. Do I see bluebirds singing a song, talking about blue skies from now on?
So back to the start of this project. So we put together some ideas. We put together some treatments. We put together some estimates, threw it their way. I think I pleaded on some phone calls. I was like, I promise I won't sleep for 6 months if we get this project. Because this, like I said, just excited about this kind of work.
And they took that to heart.
Yeah,
they did.
You didn't sleep.
Yeah, I didn't sleep. So I don't know. Maybe I'll hand it off to you, Forbes, for a second. Talk to me, kind of your perspective of the pre-pro, the planning. Let's just say we'll take it to when they said you guys are hired.
I knew that it was, we get bid jobs constantly. We're just like, yeah, like, man, it'd be awesome if we get it, but we're not gonna hold our breath because projects come and go, and it just is what it is. And so I remember when you were like, hey, we got it, and I was like, oh, okay, can I look at like the scope of it? And I remember looking at everything and being like, oh, okay, so it's one of these projects. And so I think the first thing I did, I was like, I need to buy the largest like map of Oklahoma that I can buy that has the proper roads and like cities and everything and is like laminated. And so I bought that and put it up on the whiteboard in my office. And it was from there, it was like, okay, here's the 6 scripts. Each of them feature, I think it was 6 locations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, that's 36 locations across the entire state. From that point, it was like, okay, let's figure out, we've got casting, we've got locations, schedule, crew, food, and it was just like this huge list that it was almost at that point, it was 2 to 3 times that we were meeting in person a week, and then updates with clients. VI, who was awesome to work with. Their people over there are amazing. I literally was like, I don't know if I would have wanted to do this project with anybody else, but working with them and realizing that each of them had a hand in creating these scripts and dealing with all these things, it was like, okay, we're on calls every other day giving updates, which means we need to be progressing hourly with what we're doing. And so Jess helped on so many levels, which was really nice, because up to this point on larger projects, it kind of just been like me, and then you and Nathan would kind of do stuff. But Jess came in, and really, like, casting was huge for them, because one of the things that they said that they wanted is they wanted true Oklahomans, which I get. I mean, you want people that believe in the state and love the state to be in commercials about the state.
Yep.
And so, Jess, how was the casting process on that?
The casting was really fun. They wanted real people, like you said, real families from Oklahoma. So for 6 different scripts, it was very fun to go through and look at everyone who auditioned, kind of break down the casting, and pull out a list of people that did an amazing job.
I'm curious, Jess, talk what it's like balancing, and even if you have to say that I suck to work with, it's fine. But what's it like balancing the opinions on casting? Because I feel like there's definitely like this juggle of like, we have to find people that we like, but we have to give options. And sometimes the options aren't great, which, creates the fear of what if they cast somebody that we think sucks? It's just like all these different things. Like, they like kind of talk through that. Because I mean, I don't know did we have over 100? I don't even remember how many people auditioned for this thing.
I believe it was 137, I think.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was that process? I mean, how did you manage all that?
So I watched every single audition through the whole audition, and I started placing them in spots that I thought that they would be good for. And then, so we had 6 different scripts, and so I had like Southwest, Northwest, all of those, and I would drag the auditions into files, and then I would kind of go through and watch them again and see if they would really benefit that spot. I sent my picks to VI, and they took a look at those, and they said, okay, we like these people. We want a second audition from these people. So we just kind of went in there and found out the best people for the job.
Yeah, I will say that, like, it's interesting, like, certain creative really needs a great actor.
Yes.
Like, you look at the creative and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a difficult role. This is a lot of emotions. This is a lot of backstory. They have to create all of it. They have to roll with it, and they have to embrace it, and we have to feel it. I really, even though I love this creative, what I also liked about it is that I didn't feel like the characters were hard to grasp. Like, it was easy to be somebody that had a family, lived in Oklahoma, was a little bit bored, and then wanted to adventure into something and just absolutely love it.
Yes.
Which was nice, because honestly, like, there's a lot of creative that we deal with where it's the characters can be so complex that you're like, I don't even know who can pull this off with the budget that we have. But I did feel like, regardless, the casting was so critical. It's always so critical. It's like, well, how does that person smile? How does that person laugh? How natural are they? Do they really enjoy things? Like, not can they pretend to enjoy things? Do they enjoy things, you know? And I feel like for me, like since I was directing these and we had these obnoxious setups where the camera might be mounted to a car or whatever else, I needed these actors to not just pretend to be the people, but to be the people. Like, you are the human. We're casting the person that is this person. You're not pretending to be them. And honestly, it's funny because we have had projects where the casting was not good. It just didn't work out. We didn't have that at all on this one. Like, the whole time it was like, I didn't have to spend a lot of time coaching or getting these actors to understand who they're supposed to be. You know, granted, we wrote character descriptions and VI wrote character descriptions, and I think the characters were really well understood. But I will say that that was something that once the casting was finished, we selected everyone and we got that chance to work with some of the people. I was like, oh, good. You know, these spots aren't going to be ruined by the actors.
Yes.
And actors can ruin commercials all day long.
Even the 3 best friends that we casted for the birthday spot, they had no idea who each other were at all before casting. And when VI and I looked at them and we were like, okay, these people would be great together. Now they are best friends. They have their own group chat. They talk all the time. And I'm like, we did that. Yeah. We formed that friendship.
And I think one thing to note too is we had about, and Jason, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a little less than 3 months before the first batch of shooting.
Yeah,
we shot.
Right.
It was
2.5,
4 total batches of shooting. It was 3 days, 5 days, 5 days, 3 days. But I think before the first initial in August, it was August 23rd, 24th, and 25th. I'll never forget those days.
Yeah,
that was, I think so it was 3 months. And casting, I mean, Jess, how long was that process? It was at least a month.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was a month and a half to 2 months when, you know, auditions finally started coming in, and then I had to go through a few different phases of showing VI and Oklahoma tourism the choices. So yeah, it was about 1 to 2 months of casting and looking at people, making sure they were a good fit.
Yeah, it's great. Let's talk a little bit about the scheduling. I know you kind of went there, but the scheduling was really unique and critical because certain people would be on a road trip with us for X days and be done. Other people, it was like, had to randomly meet us all over the state of Oklahoma, scattered across months.
Yeah. So out of the 6 scripts, 4 of them were region based. So we had Northeast, Southeast, Northwest, Southwest. And those scripts, as far as scheduling and like locations, was perfect because they're all in little pockets. But interspersed in all those locations were parts of scripts for 5 and 6, which were birthday and birds. And those were not region based. They were all over the state. And so that was the hardest thing, was trying to figure out in the schedule and then working with the talent is okay. Because I mean, these people have regular lives too, you know, like they're families that have kids that are, luckily it was summer break. And so that helped quite a bit. But we're like, okay, so we can do all this Northeast, but in the Northeast, there's also 3 locations that are for birthday and birds. So now we have to, in the schedule, try to, okay, now you guys are good for 3 hours. We need to bring in the other talent and we need to go to this location. It's 2 miles away, totally different script, but it just makes sense for us to do that because we're here instead of trying to come back. And that's where that map came in. I mean, I would sit there and just stare at it. And I think we came up, I remember one day you came in at the end of the day and we came up with like 3 different like shooting options. We're like, okay, we can do this one first, this one first, this one first, or vice versa. And that's what we presented, you know, to client. And they were like, okay, I think this is probably going to work best. And so from there, now we're calling, we're going to these places, we're scouting, you know, and then we had to find houses. All of these scripts have this opening scene with this match action, and it's supposed to be, like you said, the kind of the mundane or just the everyday. And so then we need to find these houses, and we needed to be in Oklahoma City, and we're in Tulsa. So we were down in Oklahoma City for almost a week, looking at Airbnbs, calling cold, like just driving by and being like, that's a cool looking house, knock on the door. Hey, can we film in here? And so luckily we found some awesome homeowners who owned other homes. And through that, we were able to find, you know, our house locations that worked out perfectly. upon us just going, even more than that, you needed to also be there, not just to meet somebody and make a connection, but to map out all these shots, because for almost one of the first times in a long time, you essentially shot the commercials before you shot the commercials.
Right.
Yeah, that was a tricky part on this, because there was a shot in every commercial called a portal. And this portal shot was a connection between the mundane and the amazing. And we wanted to do it in, with visual effects, but also somewhat practical, with geometry, with good camera framing, with good camera movement, with good composition. And, for me, I would say that this project's one of the biggest projects I've directed. Like, I'm super excited about it. I told everyone from the get-go when we got the job, I said, this should be the best thing that any of us have ever worked on in our careers. And everyone from the agency side to our side, and even to the state of Oklahoma said, yes, that is how we feel. And that's a lot of pressure, And so for me, I'm like, I know that I can do things when I put my mind to it and I set the time aside. But a lot of the projects we do around here, like, I don't even see the locations until the day of the shoot. Like, you'll have scouted it, you'll have casted it, or you'll have casted it. I'm like, cool, I trust you guys, whatever. I show up and direct it, Right. But this was one where I was like, I have to personally absolutely guarantee because of the details. And so I took my phone and I matched the lens to the lens that I felt like was right for us to film with. We were shooting in 8K. And so I went to every single location. I simulated the camera movement with my phone. I shot it, and I shot almost every scene. And then we even edited every commercial from my iPhone footage of what it was going to be. To have we do animatics, we do storyboards. Those are all common things. It's nothing new. But it is a little bit unusual to go to every actual location and shoot with the actual framing and edit with the actual timing. But it was great, because when we got on set, like, all we had to do was execute. Like, we got on set, execute. And it's funny, like, man, I don't think there'd been any other way to do it, because for me, like, my brain, I don't think I could have come up with, let me figure out the shot real quick while there's a bunch of people staring at me, and not to mention sunrises and sunsets.
Oh man, thank goodness we shot up when we did, because it's getting
because
dark
now you
so
don't have any
fast.
hours in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was tourism, right? This is a sunrise sunset shoot. So that was a thing. Like, you were very gracious, and I'm sure if you hadn't been, I would have just told you to shut up and do it anyways. But there was moments where we were working on the schedule, and I'm like, that's a sunrise shot, that's a sunset shot, that's a sunset, and you're like, well, we can't shoot everything at sunrise and sunset. And I'm like, well, that's what we're doing.
I was like, all right, well, it's going to be 5 days this week and 5 days that week.
Yeah. So it kind of went from, I think, like 10 days of shooting to 11 days of shooting to 14, 15.
I think it ended at 17 days.
17.
17.
But you got to do it right.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You got to do it right. So
you're going to look back and be like, if we hadn't have done that,
right,
then, I was just looking at some of the footage the other day, and I was like, okay, this is like, it's pretty. It's good. It was worth it.
We'll probably, because we're running out of time, we'll get into more details of the way we shot it and the way we edited it and all that jazz on the next episode covering this tourism project. But I totally agree with you. Like, I've looked at that 8K footage and I'm like, oh my gosh, it is so pretty. It's so sharp. It's just, and shooting on a full frame sensor, it's just been a while. We shoot on so many like Super 35 sensors. So it's like, you really don't get the feeling of parallax on a wide lens unless you're on like a full frame sensor and it's moving in and out of a shot. So that approach to the cinematography, it really paid off. Super excited with how the footage turned out. So anyways, but I will cut us off. Once again, as always, you guys did such a great job. The casting was so fluid. The schedule was fluid. The overall producing. What a massive, massive undertaking. I think I don't even remember, but with extras and everything, I think this project was over 200 people collaborate. You think about the locations, the hotels, gosh, we should go add it up. But it was probably at least, I bet it was like 250 different people that had to work together to pull this project off. And to do that in a way that everyone still likes each other when it's all over.
It's true. That wrap party was fun.
It was.
We had a good time.
And heck, we didn't even get into the animals and the props and really the specific locations, the wardrobe. But that's all right. We'll do that on this next episode. We may have to go 3 episodes on tourism. So
it's worth it.
We appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing a little bit about this project as we just touched the surface of it. But we will continue. And it's definitely a really, really cool project, something we're all super proud of. So we'll see you next time. If you're interested in finding out any more about Retrospec, feel free to dig the website, check out other episodes, and we'll see you again.
Bye.
Bye.